This is the briefing for Monday, June 15th. Well, the news over the weekend concerning the peace settlement in the Middle East certainly gave some fuel to the indices. But I have to be honest here. I'm very concerned over the internals of the market. Price development is one thing, and certainly we have to respect the trend. But in some cases, when we look at the inside of that trend to determine whether it's really strong or not, it means that the trend is actually subject to the possibility of coming to an abrupt end. And that's my fear and concern with what we saw in today's trading. Now, this is the spiders on a daily basis. And before I get into that, I should couch this by saying that you have to respect the trend, as I said, and certainly you can be long this market, but I just feel like there are some things out there that are just giving me some red flags, and I'm just going to be very cautious with my own trading. But in light of that, it's important to understand, even though we are approaching all-time highs in terms of the spiders and the Qs, the Russell has already hit all-time highs, but did not perform very well in today's trading. But it's easy to see what's happening here. This is today's trading right here on a daily basis. This is today. And you can see the gap from Friday, and then of course it ran up, and then some selling came in right at the end of the day. But look at volume in the spiders. I mean, that's just really at the lowest level that it's been at for quite some time. And remember, during this move here, up here, I've been warning, especially in this part of the move, that the rally was subject to an abrupt correction, and that's exactly what we got, was an abrupt correction. The issue now is this thing done, or are we going to see another potential leg to the downside? And that's yet to be seen. 52-week highs minus 52-week lows was positive 390. That's probably the strongest internal from today that we can garner. But if you look at this is NYSE breadth. Only 50 shares were trading higher as opposed to lower in the NYSE. And net volume, and I'll get to that in a minute, but net volume on the NYSE was negative, as you can see right through there. So while volume was down, most of that volume was selling volume, not buying volume. If we look at the Qs, you can see the Qs approaching resistance. This resistance level comes in at around the 747, 748 area. In the Qs. And then, of course, it's always the case is that the most recent information is the most relevant. So the first level of support is going to be the low from today. And that would be, if it trades through that would mean that it is getting ready to trade through the gap, which would be a significant event also. And I forgot to point out the spiders, about the 760 areas resistance in the spiders as well. So you can see volume in the Qs, what happened, it was down only 1,000, basically 1,000 shares positive in NASDAQ breadth for the type of move and the what we saw in terms of the price development. That really is not a very strong showing for it. Net volume ticked up slightly in the NASDAQ, so I have to give the NASDAQ credit for that as well. And in terms of the IWM, you can see it traded above its all-time high. So that's support now, and it's pretty close to the low for today at 293. You can see what's happening here. I mean, we had negative breadth in the Russell, even though it put in a new all-time high. So volume in the IWM is down, and net volume was not very positive. And it was positive, but not very positive in terms of what was happening with the Russell. So it's almost funny to look at some of these internals, comparing them to what I guess some traders are doing in terms of buying the market itself. So it's going to be important to respect the trend, but in the same regard to be very cautious. I'm very concerned that If there's any news, if something were to happen with this peace deal or any other bad economic news that were to come out, if the Fed were hinting at raising rates or something like that, that the weakness in this market is going to just allow for a pretty substantial move to the downside, which is what we saw over the last week. And that was a pretty decent move to the downside, but I'm not so sure that the move down is complete as of yet in terms of the longer term development. And I think in Friday's briefing, I gave an indication of if this is a leg one, this is a leg two, where it would project to. Of course, we'd have to raise that level now, so it would project probably somewhere down around the 720 level, if that's the case. But any type of bad news that's going to raise oil prices again is just going to bring this market, collapsing down. It's just not very positive. I mean, when you're even looking at 50 shares positive in the NYSE, it's just nothing to write home about in terms of this rally. In terms of overbought and oversold, we were approaching an overbought condition in the NYSE. You can see that because of the weakness in the market internals, it has turned down, and we're basically approaching a neutral area. In terms of the NASDAQ, you can see the same thing occurred. The internals were so poor in today's trading that it backed off from being at an extreme overbought condition, and you can see that we could see some type of a move to the downside. This is not looking positive for the rally either. In terms of market development or market structure, so market development, price development, the trend is up. But in terms of the strength of that trend, it is weak and weakening once again. In total volume, this is total volume in the NYSE. You can see it ticked up slightly, but still at a pretty low level compared to where it has been in the past. And look at net volume. This is net volume turning down. So most of this volume that we got today was selling volume. NASDAQ, a little bit different. NASDAQ is showing some strength. It has volume increased, total volume on the NASDAQ increased, and net volume increased as well. So the NASDAQ looked a little bit stronger, and I think most of that has to be given to the equal weighted stocks within the NASDAQ. They were actually holding up the market and trading higher than the weighted stocks in the NASDAQ. So if you check that out, I think you'll see that that's the case. So right now, we have to be long this market. We have to look at being long this market. The trend is up, and certainly, in terms of price development, that's the case. But I'm very, very cautious going forward in this market right now based on what I'm seeing in the market internals. Have a great night, and I will pick this back up again tomorrow.